All right, welcome back to another live episode of Hail Yes, a Michigan football and basketball podcast by the Detroit Free Press. I am Andrew Birkle, of course, joined by our Michigan beat writer, Tony Garcia. And as a reminder, if you're listening live on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, wherever you are, please fire us your questions. We want to answer them. We'll put them up on the screen. We'll give you guys a shout out. So please send those in as they come to you. I know, I'm sure you guys got lots of thoughts after this draw. So, Tony, it's finally tournament time, man. We made it through the conference tournaments. Michigan is a 1 seed in the Midwest region, like many of us thought they might be, where they could end up right back in Chicago where you just were. So first, I'll start with hope your travel went well. And secondly, how do you like this draw for Michigan in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, travel. It was absolutely pouring all night long from Chicago to Ann Arbor last night for 4 hours. But we made it home safely, and now it is a quick turnaround, right? Michigan ideally wanted Philadelphia, which was the Friday-Sunday matchup or schedule. They will be, as you said, they'll be going to Buffalo, which is Thursday, Saturday. And after playing 3 games in 3 days, it's going to be a quick turn, quick reset for the Wolverines. Dusty said that Monday was just going to be an off day. I mean, an off day does not mean off completely, but it means no practice. It means treatment. It means whatever, like the way he's characterized it is whatever you feel you need to do to be at your best moving forward. So if that's watching film, if that's rehab, if it's just rest, whatever that is. And then practice Tuesday, fly out Tuesday night is the plan to Buffalo. So, but I mean, as far as the draw overall, doesn't the draw always look better when you're a 1 seed, right? Like, I mean, not look better. I mean, you are the power in your region. And so more often than not, you're looking at, all right, who are we going to have to match up with in the Elite Eight? I mean, if should you be fortunate enough to make it that far, but Michigan is on top, right? So that first round game is, yes, there have been 2 16 seeds that have won all time, but it's essentially a free square. We'll get into it a little bit against, they don't even know who that is. University of Maryland, Baltimore County, or Howard, both DMV area schools. Howard also located in Washington, D.C. So I don't see much problem there. We'll get into the round of 32 potential matchups. I think it'll be a very interesting matchup with a compelling storyline either way, whether they get Georgia, who Dusty May has some ties to, their head coach Mike White, we'll get into that, or St. Louis, whose star Nick Avila has just the best nicknames in all of college basketball. We'll talk about those as well. And then after that, if you look at the 4 seed, right? Alabama, they just had their second this morning. We're recording on Monday, March 16th. Their second leading scorer was just arrested for possessing a pound of marijuana, and I don't know if he's still in jail right now, but he was a couple hours ago. And so,
no, we say about that. Not great, Bob. Not great.
Not great. Not the way you draw it up. That was, not ideal for the Crimson Tide, but not Michigan's problem, frankly. And then the 5 seed, who is the other most likely matchup in the Sweet 16, is Texas Tech. They're missing their best player in JT Toppin, right, who tore his ACL in February. So then you get all the way to the Elite Eight. I mean, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but you just start sort of going through that map, and it's either Iowa State or Virginia. If I'm Michigan, I would rather play Virginia. I think Iowa State just has they're very experienced. They have, a ton of skill. TJ Otzelberger has really done a great job with that program throughout the years. And they hit a bit of a funk in February, but it was January where Iowa State was top 2, 3 in KenPom, right alongside, they were within hairs of Michigan, Duke, Arizona, and Iowa State was thought to be that 4th 1 seed. So their upside is really, really good. But overall, I think Buffalo, Chicago, you got a 1 hour, 15-minute flight and then a 1 hour flight. I imagine Michigan will be flying to Chicago as well for the regionals. And so overall, I think it's a really good draw for the Wolverines. Now, they're the ones who earned that, right? That's why it's so important. Like as sad as they were yesterday when we're meeting with them to miss out on the Big Ten sweep and to not win that Big Ten tournament championship, to do the work they did in the regular season They have 30 wins. They have lost. That was their first Big Ten loss in 2 months. They have multiple 10-game winning streaks. They 30-3, right? This is an elite team. If they're playing elite, we'll discuss later. A little bit of ups and downs lately, but overall, the draw is all. I think it's totally fine. And then you'll see who you got in Indy, should you be fortunate enough to make it.
Yeah, and I think something that stuck out that you just said was how nice it is to be the 1 seed, right? So I pulled up DraftKings, the sportsbook odds, as you were saying that. Michigan is minus 130 to make the Final Four. Duke minus 135 to make the Final Four. Florida plus 165, so they're kind of the outlier, but still, compared to some years, there's years where a 2 seed could be the favorite. If you had a Duke at a 2 or something like that, right? So they're still pretty well favored over Houston, who's a 2 in that region, and then Arizona minus 120. So yes, it is nice to be a 1 seed. One other thing about Iowa State, they played maybe the best college basketball game of the season. Against Arizona. I legitimately could not believe what I was watching. The shot making in that game was unbelievable down the stretch. So if they get to that point and it's an Elite Eight matchup with Iowa State, just because they're not a traditional power, your Kentuckys or your Dukes or your North Carolinas, doesn't mean it's going to be an easy game. But you take that problem if you get there, right? Real quick, I want to answer this question and put this up here on the screen because we've been trying to get more people to answer their questions. And pumped that Michigan Go Blue 1324 asked us. So he said, how worried are you about Yaxel's injury? So he went down for just a few seconds, appeared to be an ankle injury in the Purdue game. Was there anything that came out of the locker room on that, just so we don't forget before we move on to some more tournament talk here?
Yeah, and thanks for the super chat, Michigan Go Blue 1324. It's on my radar. It's something to monitor. When I was speaking with him in the locker room post game, he had an ice pack wrapped around his left ankle. He told me it was a lower left ankle sprain, so it's not a high ankle sprain, so there won't be any x-rays necessary. He's not long-term concerned about it, but Yaxel's been a little bit sort of banged up off and on throughout the year, right? At the beginning of the year, it was his thumb on his shooting hand. In the middle of the season, sort of early January time when they were on the West Coast, or the Pacific Northwest, I should say, it was a calf strain, and now it's the ankle. So he went back in right after he seemed to aggravate it. I remember watching him walk around on the court, and I was he looks to be in a little bit of pain. He said afterwards he's okay, and so you got to. And one thing Yaxel is honest to a fault. We've talked about that. Me and our media friends. It's this guy. I love it. I always want players to be honest, but it's there's not a ton of media training there, just with his path, and so a lot of guys would say, "Oh, I'm fine no matter what." But I actually give it a little more credence when Yaxel is saying it, because he was I was talking to him in the locker room in Washington. He was telling me all about his calf and how much it was bothering him, and how he didn't feel he had the same explosion, and how he got an ultrasound on it, and he was meeting with Dusty and the coaches about should he sit out a couple games, or he's no, I just want to play through this. And so he's pretty honest about these things. So time will tell. You hope swelling stays down, and I think Michigan, it would be very prudent for them to handle the 16 seed early, quickly, get him off the court as much as possible in the second half. Ideally, he's playing 22, 25 minutes in this first round, and that's it. So slightly worried, but not overly concerned, at least.
And you don't want him coming in cold to the 8 seed matchup. So you probably want him to play, or 8 or 9 matchup. You probably want him to play a few minutes at least. The thing about the ankle too, it's always tough to tell from our perspective or from a fan's perspective, is because a lot of times you can twist that ankle pretty, you can have a gnarly ankle injury during the game. As long as it's not broken, you can kind of play through it based off adrenaline. How many examples of that have we seen in basketball history? And then you get the swelling and stuff after the game, and you kind of get a better idea. So we're kind of in that wait and see mode. But I think the other good thing about an ankle injury is usually you can power through it if it comes at tournament time, game 7 of the playoffs, whatever it is. You can usually power through it to some level, as long as it's not broken, and there's no indication that there's anything serious with that. No. So we'll continue to monitor it. But yeah, let's look ahead to the NCAA tournament matchups now. So Michigan could play either UMBC or Howard in the first round. They're going to play in the first 4 game on Tuesday, leading into a matchup in Buffalo on Thursday. Both teams are in the 200 range in KenPom. UMBC is number 185. Howard is number 207. And Michigan has shown an ability to just crush teams of this ilk that have been on their schedule. There hasn't been very many, but the ones that they have played in the non-conference schedule, they make quick work of, and I don't see why this would be any different, even though Michigan's not playing their greatest.
Yeah, no, this will be just on paper the least skilled, talented team that they've seen since 2025, right? Like not last season, but since the calendar turned and it was Big Ten play plus Duke the rest of the way. So it has not been an easy last 24 games or so for Michigan. But again, we were asking Dusty yesterday. I mean, like immediately after learning the draw, and they came out of the locker room, or Dusty came out of the locker room, or the room I guess they weren't in the locker room. They were watching it in another area in the bowels of United Center, and he came out and he said, well, first off, Howard and UMBC play on Tuesday, so they'll obviously be watching that game. But even in the meantime, they're like the pre-scout on both those teams is just to see if either of them does anything like truly unique, right? Like something that is just out of the ordinary that Michigan has to really have a contingency plan in place for. But if that's not the case, and again, forgive me for not having my UMBC and Howard deep scout done yet, but like we said, we were driving home late last night, and it was a quick turn this morning with the rest of the tournament coverage. But other than that, I mean, this is going to be about Michigan, right? Like Michigan is trying to get its mojo back and play well. We'll get into it probably after the break in a little bit here, just about sort of where they're at, where this team is at entering the tournament after what was a dominant year where, in Vegas, they're the national championship favorites, right? And so you got to be, so with that being said, I don't think there's either one of these teams that could give Michigan like even a scare. Like I imagine the spread when it comes out is probably going to be around 30 points. Like I've seen them up to 35 points, right? Like 36 and a half type, like it'll be 5 touchdowns, right? And so just run the ball, control the clock, like get your skill makers involved on the outside, all the football analogies when you're talking about point spreads like that.
And then let's look at the 8 seed matchups here. So it's Georgia out of the SEC, number 32 in KenPom, 16 on offense, 80 on defense. Michael White is their coach. He was the coach at Florida for a while where he worked with Dusty May. So that could be an interesting matchup if you see that on Saturday. Jeremiah Wilkinson, leading scorer, sophomore, 17 a game, played for Cal last year. And then St. Louis is probably the one that, objective basketball fans are rooting for just because Robbie Avila is just, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a.k.a. Whatever nickname you want to call him. What's the one you like? Larry Nerd? Is that the one?
Larry Nerd, College Jokic. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like Cream,
that one takes the cake.
is by far the best. I think I called him Nick Avila earlier. I worked with Nick Avila like 10 years ago, and so that was in my
Dude, no, I saw your face. I saw your face go completely blank. I'm like, did I just say the wrong name? I'm like, no, I thought I had it right, but
no,
that's fine.
You have it right. It is in fact.
Glad it was your screw up. I'm glad it was
as it often is. But if I'm Michigan, I think I'd probably rather play Georgia. But for me personally, my purpose is just the entertainment and basketball fans, like you said, which is, just in basketball enjoyers, which is what we are first and foremost. That St. Louis matchup would be like really enjoyable, just from an aesthetic standpoint. This is like they are balanced. The Billikens are balanced. They have 6 players. Like Robbie Alloa leads the team in scoring, and he averages 12.9 a game. They have 6 players scoring between 9 and 13. So, it's kind of like Michigan, right? I'm not saying they're Michigan, but just a similar style where it's not like, all right, we need this guy to get 20. This is our second option where he's getting 15. And then if a couple guys can chip in 10, 12 here, we're good. It's like, no, literally anybody can score 10, can score 15. at any moment. And it starts with Avila, who is, I mean, like, his name is College Jokic for a reason, right? Like, he's like a slow, methodical big who can pass really well. He doesn't put up Jokic like triple double numbers. He's like 13, 5, and 4. But like, think about Yaxel, right? Like, Yaxel's a great passer. He only averages 3.5 assists a game. It's that sort of idea as a point forward creator. And what really scares me, or what would scare me if I'm Michigan, this is the number 2 3-point shooting team in the country, shooting 40.5% as a team. That and it's not like they just jack up a million threes. Like, 45% of their field goal attempts are from 3, which is a high rate, but it's 64th.
That is pretty high, yeah.
It's 64th though in the country, right? So it's like 20% of teams take more. When I'm really scared is when you're like as a supporter of the team that shoots a lot of threes, when I would be scared is when you're like top 10, top 20, because 3-point shooting is just so volatile. And it's like, all right,
it's kind of desperate, right? If you're shooting that many, you're 60
and
is
it's just
about the highest you want to be, probably, because you're talking 400 teams, right?
Across college 363 to be specific. But yes, but it's so boom or bust, the threes, but also they're the 15th best 2-point shooting team in America. They shoot twos at 58.9%. And like, a real area to watch in that matchup would be like the true down low in the paint. What is St. Louis able to get done? Because St. Louis is one of my new favorite KenPom metrics. All these numbers are via KenPom, by the way. One of my favorite new KenPom metrics this year is average 2-point distance, right? So just how close to the basket are you on average for your 2-point shots? Nobody averages closer shots to the basket. St. Louis is 3.8 feet away, which is the best in the country. Michigan, however, is number 2 in creating 2-point shooting distance on defense. They force you to take shots from 7.4 feet away, as we know, Adai Mara protecting the paint and just sort of altering shots and scaring teams out of even thinking about going down there. So how does that play out as well? Again, Michigan is the 1 seed. St. Louis is the 9 seed. You figure that Michigan is bigger, more talented, longer, a bit. You almost say more depth, but this is a deep St. Louis team, and so you just don't know how it will all shake out. But that's just in that second round type of matchup. That's a team that really scares you, even if you are as good as Michigan. I think they could give a lot of I was going to pick St. Louis to make a bit of a run going in here, it's not because they're playing Michigan, but like, now that they're on the 8-9 line, like, I probably would have picked them to lose to most. I think maybe all the 1 seeds. Maybe I would have gotten cheeky and tried to pick them over Florida or something. But I do think Michigan wins, but it's not going to be easy. Of course, Duke or Georgia can make this all irrelevant and beat them in the open.
Yeah, it feels like all the time.
Oh, we lost Andrew there. So I'm sure we'll get him back. I wonder what he was going to say. He says, I feel like all the time, I'm not going to try to get in the mind of Andrew. It's a better mind than mine. So we'll just keep it rolling here for the time being. Again, this is a good time. We have Robin, our audio engineer, in the background. I think he might be able to pull up the chats if there are any chats, any questions that we could answer in this moment while we try to get Andrew back. Maybe he'll text me here and let me know where he's going. But I mean, this is a good chance to get into Georgia again as well. So Dusty May was the assistant for Georgia. And there he is. I was just spinning to Georgia, just talking a little bit about how Dusty May was the assistant under Mike White from 2015 to 2018. And then Andrew pointed out when we were doing our pre-show prep, Mike White went straight from Florida to Georgia, which is kind of like going from Michigan to Ohio State or vice versa. Yeah. It's unusual, but do you remember? We can get right back to the point.
No, I know exactly what I was going to say.
Remember.
Because I was just going to say, like, when you're picking the bracket, like, the more confident I am in the 8 or 9 seed to win, I feel like the opposite almost always happens, right? So, like, we're all talking about how fun the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar matchup would be in the second round, right? And then next thing you know, it's like, Georgia won that game, and at I guess it's not till 9:45 on Thursday. But it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, wipe that out, and then you just move on to the next game, right? So these 8-9s are just so unpredictable. But St. Louis was, they're a couple games away down the stretch from probably being on the 7 line here. They lost on February 24th by 15 to Dayton. Then they lost the regular season finale to George Mason, 86-57. And then they lost on Saturday in the A10 to Dayton in that insane game. Probably one of the
You saw that finish, that tip in?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Like, that's what
Yeah.
March is all about. But, like, they lose those 3 games, and they finish the year with 5 losses. So, they're not – you could also say they're not in the greatest form right now compared to where they had been earlier in the year. But they're a couple plays away from possibly being a higher seed where a run is much more likely. So they are a semi-legitimate threat there in the 8 line.
Yeah, 4-4 in their last 8. They were 24-1 at one point. So certainly stumbling down the stretch. That's a good point. It's a good call out by you.
Oh, nope. That's what I'm here for. So let's take a quick break because you mentioned stumbling to the finish line a little bit. We'll take a quick break and then we'll look at Michigan, how they wrapped up the season against Purdue in the Big Ten tournament, and kind of just Michigan's general form heading into the tournament. So stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Michigan. It's funny because they make it to the Big Ten tournament final, and right, objectively, that's usually a good result. But they lose pretty comfortably to Purdue. It didn't look pretty on Saturday. It didn't look all that great on Friday. Michigan, I'd say they played pretty well overall against Michigan State, but before that against Iowa, it wasn't great. So, it's hard to judge it because is this team maybe losing a little bit of that focus when you have the 1 seed so on lock, or is there something bigger going on with LJ Cason's injury? What do you chalk it up to as far as Michigan losing this Big Ten tournament final to Purdue, and they're not playing the same level that we had come accustomed to at certain points for this team.
Yeah, we now have 5 games of sample size for Michigan without LJ Cason, and in my estimation, they have not looked like the same team, right? And so I am in the process of balancing. All right, Michigan has found a way to get through every challenge that has been thrown its way to this point. It's going to take a little bit of time to find its new normal, which is a phrase we all used to use in the COVID years, and just really find its form. What does it look like now without Cason? 5 games is not a huge sample size, but it's enough to hope that you have started figuring some things out. And I'm not sure that I've seen the proof that they have. And much of that is just, when I look at these games without LJ, they've all been close. They've played 5 times. The first game, they were tied at 66 with Iowa in the final minutes, and they end up surviving with some big shots down the stretch. It was, they throw the lob to a die. He hit a crazy, buzzer beating, mid-range fall away off the glass. And they just squeaked that one out. Then I'd say maybe the best game of the bunch was against Michigan State at home on senior day, as you'd expect. The first game was away. The next 3 were neutral site. So rivalry, senior day. But even that Michigan State was up in the second half, and it's a 3-point game with under 4 to play. So you're still within 1 possession, under 4 minutes, but Michigan State's a 3 seed. That's a good team. So you can understand that. Down 2 against Ohio State with less than 5 minutes to play in the Big Ten quarterfinal. Again, they do find a way, pull it out. They hold their defense, locks up, holds Ohio State to 2 of 12 shooting down the stretch. And they win by 4 when Yaxel ices the game with a couple free throws. But again, they're up 2 with 6 seconds left, and you need Yaxel to hit both free throws. If not, this is March. In March, I don't know if it's just me, but I imagine you do too, Andrew. When you see that ball go in the air at the last second, it feels like it's more than a 50% shot. It feels like almost all the time those heaves just go in. Look at the Fighting Fran McCaffreys. Penn, that crazy 30-footer dribbling up court to knock off Yale. I mean, in the regular season, those don't go in, but in March, they just I swear they go in at a higher.
You can feel it in your stomach, right? You're like,
yeah,
you lose your air. All of a sudden, it's like, yep,
absolutely.
And
then let's go forward to Wisconsin, right? I mean, in some ways, that was the best stretch they'd played. That middle of the Wisconsin game was the best stretch they'd played in any of those 4 games. They're building a 15-point lead. Feels like they're about to sort of put the hammer down. It's 54-39. And then, speaking of what happens in March, I mean, just unconscious shooting from the Badgers. Austin Rapp, that was one of the best 5-minute stretches I've seen. I think that's the best 5-minute stretch I've seen from a college basketball player in person since I was at Oakland's upset of Kentucky in Pittsburgh when Jack Golke went bananas, which still is, I think, my favorite NCAA tournament game I've ever covered. That was just so unbelievable. But
it lives in infamy still. People still call it a Golke, right? Like when you go crazy and hit a bunch of threes but it was only way to describe it was an out of body experience, right? Like you've seen that if you've played any pickup basketball or like a lot of pickup basketball, you've seen like where it's like people are hitting shots that they're not supposed to hit. All of a sudden they're feeling it. 1 goes in, 2 goes in. All of a sudden the heat check goes in. And it's like, what the heck is going on? I mean, that's what happened in like a real high level college basketball game where all of a sudden he's like just taking insane shots. Bang, bang, bang. They're all going in.
23-4 run in 6 minutes. I mean, I haven't seen Michigan give up a run like that all season, like that quickly. And then you're down 4. Now, they do have a great response. Mara finishes a couple buckets, and then it's 62-62. Cadeau hits the 3 to go up 65-62 with 45 seconds left. Nick Boyd, step back from the right wing. He ties it at 65. And then Cadeau looks like he's almost going to get trapped in the corner. So the original play was for a Yaxel post-up. I think Carrington was on him. He just does not quite yet let Yaxel get the position necessary for Michigan to throw the entry pass. So Cadeau, secondary playmaker, they get the ball back to him, goes up the right sideline, kicks out to Yaxel because Merez crashes, so Yaxel fills the space he came from. I mean, it was great movement, excellent relocating, proper decision, and then Yaxel hits the big time shot. But again, I mean, you're needing a 3, and Wisconsin's a good team. They're certainly a tough matchup for Michigan, but once again, you're needing big plays in the final minute to win a game. And then we all know what happened against Purdue. Just no answers. Purdue 11 of 13 of its first 13 in the second half from the field. Immediately 7-0 run out of the gate, and Michigan for one possession got within 5 on a Yaxel 3, but then Oscar Clough comes back down the other way, makes it a 7-point game, and Michigan never gets any closer than that the rest of the way. So, I mean, just looking at it all together, I mean, Michigan hadn't played 5 games this tight in its first 28 games. And now you've got 5 of them in a row. And Dusty May, I mean, he's been saying it since last year, right? Like, we don't want to, I mean, obviously everyone wants to win by as much as they can, but you don't want to find yourself in 1 possession games late, because then it's not about which team is better necessarily, right? It's about who makes that play that day. Right. It's not just everybody loves the narratives, and it's like, oh, like we just had belief, like we knew we were going to win. We trust ourselves. It's like, well, yeah, you do until you don't, right? Like you do until the shot rims out or the ball caroms off your hand and it like you're both hitting it out of bounds and it just rolls off your fingertips and the possession goes the other way. It's a game of inches, right? And the less time you have as the favorite, the more the underdog is going to feel they have the shot. And so Michigan is not at its best form right now. And full disclosure, I was expecting to pick Michigan to win the national championship 2 weeks ago. For the last couple months, I mean, we've been saying it on this podcast and writing about it.
I feel like you've been saying that since before the season started.
No, but I mean, as recently as 2 weeks ago, you know what I mean? Like before this stretch, since Vegas. Since Vegas, I was like, I think this is the best team in America. And they had done nothing to not prove that. Like a Duke game, obviously they lost, but I felt like they learned a lot of really valuable lessons. I felt they didn't play their best. Duke had something to do with it, but I would like their chances in a rematch. And now maybe that's still true because Duke's down 2 starters. But they're on the other half of the bracket. They wouldn't even see each other until the national championship game, should they both get there. But now it's just, I mean, this LJ thing is really, for me, a concern. I worry how they match up with, I mean, not just Iowa State, but Arizona, who I imagine will get out of the other region on their half of the bracket, out of the West. And then after that, I mean, it's one game, right? I mean, if you almost lose to Wisconsin and you lost to Purdue, there's a handful of teams that can come up and just knock you off, right? And so I don't know if there's any questions about Michigan's form or any comments from anyone listening, but I mean, Andrew, I obviously want your thoughts. Do you agree with just sort of what you've seen about the way they're going in?
Here's what it comes down to me. Margin for error, right? I mean, that is what you and I came on this podcast and talked about over and over and over and over again this season, was how much margin for error Michigan has as far as, okay, well, Adai Mara is the best rim protector in the country. Well, if he gets 2 fouls, you can slide Merez Johnson over to the 5 and be just fine. If the Axel's not, hitting a shot, well, you can put in Cheddar. He can hit a 3 at the 4. Merez plays the 4. You can move guys around. Oh, if Cadeau's not playing great, you have LJ Kaysen and Trey McKinney. It just felt like they had all the answers, right? They had all this margin for error where, like, if one guy's not playing well, somebody else is going to be playing well, right? So all of a sudden, LJ Kaysen, who I don't think we would have put on certainly the top 4 most valuable players on the team, right? Well, all of a sudden it seems like he was a lot more important part of the jigsaw puzzle than we maybe initially anticipated. Maybe some of that is just Cadeau. I just haven't been loving the way he's been playing lately. He had 10 and 10 against Purdue, 15 and 15 in the 2 tournament games. But before that, he had 7 at Illinois, 11 in the Iowa game, and just 2 against Michigan State. I mean, I think they're going to need a little bit more consistent play for him to get through 6 tournament games. And that, I don't think that was the case when they had Kaysen, right? Because, no pun intended, he'd come in and heat up off the bench for a few minutes. He'd give you a spurt of 6. He'd give you a spurt of like 8 quick, fast points, and it really would flip the momentum. And Michigan has shown, like, it's not a fluke. That is a strength of this team is those runs they go on. And I think he was a bigger part of that than we maybe anticipated. And yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to guard play, because I don't think Yaxel's playing fine. Like, he hit the game-winning shot against Wisconsin. He's not playing maybe his best, but he had 27 against Michigan State a few days ago. Like, I don't worry about his play as much. Mara's the same guy. He's actually playing. I think Mara's playing great right now. Merez has been a little quieter, but to me, it comes back to Cadeau and comes to guard play, right? And Michigan's guard play with McKinney and Cadeau and Burnett, he's kind of more of a wing, but is not as strong as it was with McKinney, Cadeau, and Kaysen, right? I mean, that's essentially what it's coming down to in a loaded college basketball year. Most years it might not matter, but when you have Arizona out there, you have Duke out there, you have a good Florida team, you have a good Iowa State team who we talked about, like, it may be the inches, right? That's why it's so hard to win the title.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I want to go back to the Axel point that you were making. I mean, he's obviously, Big Ten, this just in, the Big Ten player of the year is important to the best team in the Big Ten. Shocking, I know. That's why we're paid for this type of analysis. But seriously, Yaxel is going to have to, I think he's going to have to do something that he's not as innately comfortable with. And that's toe that line of forcing the issue, right? I think he actually did a good job of that, even in the loss to Purdue in the second half, because it was the first 3 halves, the whole game against Ohio State, and then the first half against Wisconsin. I mean, he told Tracy Wolfson on CBS, he's like, this is like close to the 2 worst games I've played in my life. Now, I would argue he was saying that about the Wake Forest game earlier in the year, but that was the worst 3 halves in a row that he had played since that time. Right.
And then Tracy said he screamed it. He screamed it, right? These are my worst games I've ever played in my entire life. So he was clearly, it wasn't like, man, I'm frustrated. It was like, he was pissed. He was not happy with how he was playing. Yeah,
no, he was telling, and we were asking him about it, and he's just like, he's just saying like I'm just in my head. He was getting, really, the thing was he was getting face guarded in both of those games, right? Like he's used to like teams throwing double teams at him, certainly from his UAB days when it was like, Yaxel, go down low. We're going to find an angle to get you an entry pass, go to work, or kick it out to one of the shooters who are spacing and just be a force. But now Michigan's playing him at the 3. So he's more on the wing, and he's having to, create off the dribble. I mean, sometimes he is coming off pick and roll. Sometimes he will set up like a pick and pop, not as often, but it'll happen. Sometimes he's just spacing. And I mean, Dusty said it. I mean, in the Ohio State game, Michigan just started using him as a decoy, right? Like they were just using him to create the gravity, pull the gravity of the defense away from the hoop, so Elliott could get downhill and then either dish it to a dive, Mraz, or finish himself. And they were just using Yaxel as a decoy. But against Wisconsin, he hit obviously hit the shot as well, but he really woke up in that second half. He had two aggressive drives in that half. He also had two aggressive drives in the second half against Purdue. He scored 13 of his 20 in the second half of the championship game, and that's what I liked. Like he was sensing like they were down. I think they were down 14 at one point, and that's when he hit a three to go down 11. He had another drive to cut, I think, from 10 to 8, but he's just like, all right, give me the ball. Like, I have to do this, right? Like, they can't be scared of the moment. He can't be scared of the moment. And so that's another thing. I mean, maybe going back to the ankle, but not even as much. This is a mindset thing for Yaxel. And so I think the best thing, like we've been talking about some of the concerns for Michigan. I think what's best is how quickly your mojo can switch in March, right? Like they're a little down off a Big Ten tournament. They're not going to be thinking about that Big Ten tournament at all when they land in Buffalo. And you win a game, which they will do in the opening round against the 16 seed. And you're like, hey, we're one game away from Chicago. And then you get back to Chicago and you already know, I can guarantee they're going to be saying, we were here 2 weeks ago. We wanted to cut down some nets. We're going to be cutting down these nets, right? Like just like unfinished business sort of thing. And they're 2 games away, right? Like it's 3 2-game sets. We all know how this works, but it's just that fast that like maybe you're slumping going in and you just got to see the ball go through, or you need one person to step up. I like another guy I'm circling is Trey McKinney. To me, it was not a.
Well, go ahead.
I mean, he's been great. He's been great all year, but he wasn't at his best against Purdue, and it's not a coincidence that Michigan was unable to sort of get over that hump. And so, and again, this is not a slight of Trey McKinney. He has been fantastic by any measure, doubly true for a freshman. But there's some high expectation. Like this team needs a lot out of him. They need a lot out of him. More than most teams ask of freshmen who come off the bench, right? Normally that's just like give you some minutes, get some guys a breather. They need him to make shots, I think he's their best tough shot maker, right? Like I was talking with Brian Bush, who does an awesome job on Michigan basketball radio play-by-play, great dude as well. And we were talking about what you like that Arizona Iowa State game. We were talking about it, and you were talking about the tough shot making, right? We're like, it's almost like that's kind of the concern for Michigan, because like they have a bunch of answers, and Dusty out of timeouts. I mean, they can draw up plays and scheme guys open, and they get a lot of great looks. But if you need someone to just make a tough shot, it might be Brian was the one who said it, and I was like, I actually like that take. I think it might be Trey McKinney, who is the guy who can just, I mean, both games against Michigan State, when State had a slight lead, he hit a tough mid-range two from the right wing in East Lansing and from the left baseline in Ann Arbor to just sort of steady the ship. And so I think it's going to be, I mean, it's March. Everybody's important. And you could see all these games going a number of ways, but Michigan could really use the best version of Trey McKinney. Go to your point about what the teams looked like with the absence of Casey.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe this is just me, and maybe I wasn't looking at Trey McKinney in the box score specifically enough, but I feel like sometimes he plays better than his box score shows. You know, like he was 3 for 9 for 10 points against Wisconsin, 5 for 8. Like he doesn't take that many shots, right? Like I'm looking here, the last time he took 10 shots was against Northwestern. Then 10 is the most shots he's taken all year. But it just feels like when he's out there, he's so composed, and he's so strong on the ball. And like you said, good tough shot maker. He doesn't really make the freshman mistakes. He is, you know, even if he's not shooting great, he's still a valuable member out there on the floor. But maybe Michigan needs more than that over these next couple of weeks because of the case and injury and because of some of the volatility with Cadeau, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. You want to wrap this up with like NCAA? I mean, going off the cuff here. You have a Cinderella pick at all in this bracket? I know I'm really springing this on you right now.
I'm literally looking at it as we speak. Go ahead. Yeah, you sounds like you got one in mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, but we had to do it for like on freep.com, all of us.
I made you do it. Yeah.
You assigned me this task and you didn't even do it yourself. Way to go. But I like VCU to make a little bit of a run. I think they were an 11 seed that year under Shaka Smart, and obviously that doesn't matter at all, but it's just fun. They get North Carolina in the first round, and this is not the same North Carolina team as it has been at its best, missing Caleb Wilson. And so I think I saw somewhere that Michigan, or excuse me, that VCU might actually like just be like straight up favored in that game against North Carolina. And then I need to my bracket unloaded. Who do they play in? Would they play in the second round? You got the bracket up. I don't know why my bracket just froze
they play Illinois or Penn. Who Penn? I mean, they would be like a huge upset.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. And that's why this is a real Cinderella run prediction. But I mean, Illinois in March, right? Like, I mean, and you got to go out on a limb and pick something somewhere, right? Like, I mean, it's been a long time. Like, gun to my head, if I had to pick the best team, like, yes, it would be Illinois without question. But Penn might be able to give them a scare. And then, I don't know, VCU, they just won the A-10 coming in. They're feeling good about themselves. So I would take a flyer on VCU to make the Sweet 16.
I'm gonna look at some. I'll just list some matchups I kind of like because I haven't fully been able to dive into the level that I like to before I start making predictions. Obviously, watch out for Hofstra against Alabama. I mean, after this whole distraction with Alabama and the arrest and everything going on with that, with the Crimson Tide, watch out, right? I like Santa Clara. I've watched them play a couple times this year. They've got Kentucky, who is just like some of the 6 and 7 seeds this year. I'm really not very high on. It feels like, North Carolina is the 6, but they're playing without Caleb Wilson. Some of the Texas Tech, right, as the 5 seed, playing without Toppin. It's just like some of these 5, 6, 7 line teams are a little vulnerable. So I kind of like some of those teams, like USF against Louisville. It seems to be one that people are circling a little bit too.
Yep.
So yeah, I think those are the ones.
It's too bad that High Point against Wisconsin. That's just killing me. You know what I mean? Like, I would have totally picked High Point, but I mean, with what we've seen from Wisconsin, yeah,
Badgers are playing well. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna fill out. Like, I've done the initial first pass bracket, but it's like to really roll up the sleeves, look at every matchup, go through the Ken Poms and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know about you. Like, sometimes if there's like an amazing show coming out on TV that I really like, I almost like make it. I like don't watch it right when it comes out because I like want it to last longer. I don't want it to go away. That's sometimes how I look at the bracket, where it's like I don't want to fully commit to the bracket until like I can really have that like nerdy time to pick every matchup and really go into it and go all out on it. So that's still in the cards for me, but I actually like genuinely look forward to that, and I kind of put it off because I don't want it to be done.
Yeah, no, I haven't, honestly. I mean, the bracket comes out. I mean, here's like a little inside baseball. So as soon as Michigan, the 1 and the 16 are announced, we are walking out to because Dusty's about to approach us any minute. So I'm just finishing tweeting it out, getting it in my story that we had so we could publish who Michigan's playing and where they're going, which we had a pretty good idea of, but you still need it to be official. We talked to Dusty for 5 minutes, and then Carlos Menares, our columnist, and I are going to do a quick video breakdown, just previewing the path and talking about like what just happened also in the Big Ten tournament championship game. And I'm like, wait, who's the 2 seed in this region? Like, we didn't even wait until the bottom of the region because we had to go talk to Dusty. So I sometimes, as like, I mean, it's like the great irony of it, right? Like, you can make this your life, And then you almost sometimes see less than you would like back when I was like in college or like in grad school or whatever, or covering high schools in Jackson, and I'm not entrenched with a team in the NCAA tournament. I mean, couch 4 days in a row, like Thursday noon to midnight, Friday noon to midnight, Saturday, Sunday. And now, the off days you're able to see more. So like Friday, Sunday, I'll be able to see a ton, but Michigan still has practice on Friday, and on Sunday you're traveling home and I already have my Sweet 16 stuff booked, but you're doing travel things and you're getting home and all of that. So it's going to be tough. And when you're at a tournament site, there's just not as much.
It's all consuming. It's
leeway to watch. Although I think we have a really fun bracket, so right before Michigan plays whoever it's going to play in the opening round. I think the game right before it is Michigan State and North Dakota State. So there's going to be a ton of Michigan fans showing up early there, cheering on North Dakota State. And then there's going to be a ton of Michigan State fans who stick around and are cheering on UMBC, right? And it's going to be even more so in the second round, should they both advance. So both of those teams would normally have the largest fan contingent in that like opening site. However, with the opposing fan base there, it's going to be pretty neutral court. I mean, both these fans. As fans should.
I wonder if there might be more Michigan State fans slightly, because Michigan fans are kind of banking on this being a weekend win, right? Whereas you can start planning for Chicago a little bit.
Yeah.
Versus Michigan State. I mean, they're in a much more vulnerable spot with potential matchups against Louisville or South Florida, which, those teams are, if you get South Florida, then maybe it's slightly less dicey than Michigan getting St. Louis, maybe, but they're all kind of in that same ilk. I don't know. I just think that Michigan State fans might be more prone to get out to this one because it's like a little more dicey and their team's not as good, right? So that's the other factor, right? So you're not as reliable. So maybe you go out for this one versus Michigan fans can start. I mean, do you go to the round of 64, the Sweet 16, and the Final Four if you make that run? Like there's certain decisions you have to make, right? So,
it's like I remember when Michigan football was in its like height, right? Like from 21 to 23 and the 24 title game. I mean, people just weren't going to the Big Ten championship game in 23. They're like, I'm saving it for the Rose Bowl, right? Or I'm saving it for the Natty. Or I'm saving it for the Natty.
Like the current 12-team playoff. Oregon's playing, who do they play? Texas Tech in Miami, and the stadium's like hardly full because like Oregon fans, are they really going to go to Miami for the New Year's Day game? Or New Year's Day? I think they would play it on the 31st, whatever. Then go to the 8th for the, and then go to the championship. Like you have to make decisions at a certain point. So we'll see some of that, but that's way too inside baseball. So I think that's probably our sign that we should probably wrap it up here. So
I want an early Natty pick. I want an early national championship pick from you, and then wrap it.
I'm going to go Zona. I think they're a little, I think they've been in that group all year. And I've consistently said, I think Michigan and Duke are slightly ahead of Arizona, very slightly. But over the last few weeks, Duke has had a couple injuries now. Michigan's had the Kaysen injury. I think Arizona might be coming into the tournament on the strongest note. And it's always better to pick somebody who maybe is not getting picked as often. I haven't looked at the percentages yet to see who's getting picked the most, but I think if I had to guess, I would say Duke and Michigan are probably ahead of Arizona. So that's always a plus too.
I see it exactly the same way. I think people are still like maybe a little spooked by the 2 losses in 1 week, and sort of letting that drive the narrative. Arizona's 32-0 outside of the 1 week where it lost at Kansas on Monday night, where Bill Self had never lost before.
Yep.
The other game was Iowa State or Houston or something. Yeah. Two top seeds when they sort of hit a little bit of a wall. But other than that, this is a team that has 7 players averaging between 9 and 16 points a game. Only Jaden Bradley plays more than 30 minutes a game, and that's 30.4. Braden Burries, Koa Pete. They've got some Eastern Europeans who are big and shoot the ball well. I mean, they're battle tested. I mean, they had to go through Houston, they had to go through Iowa State, they had to go through Texas Tech. I mean, it's outside of the Big Ten. I think it's the best league. I mean, I think those are 1A, 1B for the two best leagues in the country. They won the regular season. They won the tournament title. They're not as banged up as Duke and Michigan. They're coming in at top form. So I do like Arizona, which unfortunately for Michigan would mean a Final Four exit. I've been wrong before for anyone concerned listening, and I will be wrong again. So
I don't think they're worried about that much.
Yeah, no. So
no one's losing sleep over it. But anyways,
no.
Yeah, well, it's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be a great tournament. We'll see. I think that, like, as you were saying it kind of struck me that, it feels like in this transfer portal era, that margin for error and ways to beat you, mentioned 7 players averaging over 9 points per game. I mean, that was what made this Michigan team special. When you can load up your roster and really make all the parts fit together in a way that you simply couldn't before, because you're recruiting high school kids, you're recruiting classes. Now it's like, oh, we need a small forward. Let's go get a small forward. And it feels like Arizona has the most complete team right now. And that feels like what's winning in college basketball. So I think that's kind of what I'm seeing. But we'll get to more of that probably as we head to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 next week. Thank you, as always, to our editor and producer of the podcast, Robin Chan, who sets up these lives. We really appreciate it. Thank you to our acting sports editor, Ryan Ford. And as always, thank you to the editor-in-chief at the Free Press, Nicole Avery Nichols, who makes it all possible. So with that, check out the podcast on your feeds, rate us, review us, all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you guys next week after an awesome weekend of college basketball.